Where's everyone?
I'll go colors. Right, so going live.
Krishna, Hare
Ishtapad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Satura Sutashi Shimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Ishtapad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Asatura Sutashi Shimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Kori Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sako Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Ganadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Navari Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gora Premanandi Hari 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 Bol. All glories to the Assambodhivaris. All glories to the Assambodhivaris. All glories to the Assambodhivaris. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Most Paraya Krishna Stay Bhutri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Miracharina Nirvishesha Shunavari Pascharishtarina.
Hare Krishna. Michelle Williams, Gabriela, Danny, Shamdai, Doris, Ganesha, Agori, Bhupinder, Dan, Irina, Morgan, no, Manish, Montu, Upendra, Hare Krishna, everybody. Frank is back, blissful servant. Rebecca, Hare Krishna. Ruda Prakash. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. We're reading from the 3rd canto, 14th chapter, text 30. Maitreya Uvacha Saivam Savidite Bhartra Manmatho Namathinendriya Jagravaso Brahmarashir Vrishaliva Gata Trapa. Maitreya Uvacha, Maitreya said, Sa, she, Evam, thus, Samvidite, in spite of being informed, Bhartra, by her husband, Manmata, by Cupid, Unmaitita, being pressed, Indriya, senses, Jagraha, caught hold of, Vasaha, clothing, Brahmarashe, of the great Brahmana, sage, Vrishali, public prostitute, Eva, like, Gatatrapa, without shame. Translation. Maitreya said, Diti was thus informed by her husband, but she was pressed by Cupid for sexual satisfaction. She caught hold of the clothing of the great Brahmana sage, just like a shameless public prostitute. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The difference between a married wife and a public prostitute is that one is restrained in sex life by the rules and regulations of the scriptures, whereas the other is unrestricted in sex life and is conducted solely by the strong sex urge. Although very enlightened, Kashyapa, the great sage, became a victim of his prostitute wife. Such is the strong force of material energy. Next, Sa viritva tha bharyayastam nirbandam vikarmani natva dishtaya rahasi tayatopa veshahi saha hi viritva, understanding, ata, thereupon, bharyayaha, of the wife, tam, that, nirbandam, obstinacy, vikarmani, in the forbidden act, natva, offering obeisances, dishtaya, unto worshipable, unto worshipable fate, rahasi, in a secluded place, taya, with her, ata, thus, upabhivesha, lay, he, certainly. Translation. Understanding his wife's purpose, he was obliged to perform the forbidden act, and thus, after offering his obeisances unto worshipable fate, he laid with her in a secluded place. Purport by His Divine Grace. It appears from the talks of Kashyapa with his wife that he was a worshipper of Lord Shiva, and although he knew that Lord Shiva would not be pleased with him for such a forbidden act, he was obliged to act by his wife's desire, and thus he offered his obeisances unto fate. He knew that the child born of such untimely sexual intercourse would certainly not be a good child, but could not protect himself because he was too obligated to his wife. In a similar case, however, when Thakur Haridas was tempted by a public prostitute at the dead of night, he avoided the allurement because of his perfection in Krishna consciousness. That is the difference between a Krishna conscious person and others. Kashyapa Muni was greatly learned and enlightened, and he knew all the rules and regulations of systematic life, yet he failed to protect himself from the attack of sex desire. Thakur Haridas was not born of a Brahmana family, nor was he himself a Brahmana, yet he could protect himself from such an attack due to his being Krishna conscious. Thakur Haridas used to chant the holy name of the Lord 300,000 times daily. Om Agyantirinandasya Jnanajana Shalakiyam Chakshunan Miritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, has opened my darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto His lotus feet. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So, these lusty feelings are very, very powerful. Krishna declares in the Bhagavad Gita that lust is the old sinful enemy of the world. It is due to lust that we continuously take birth in this material world. By lusty desires, we become attached to the objects of the senses, and because of this attachment, we take birth again in a material body. Body means senses. If we do not control our senses, then automatically we become attached to the body. We're not this body, we're a spirit soul. So, but unfortunately, because of too much sense gratification, we think that, oh, body is all that matters. Body and bodily gratification. So, when we take birth in this world, we're subjected by the threefold miseries: Adibhotika, Adidaivika, Adiatmika. The miseries inflicted by the body and the mind, miseries inflicted by other living entities, miseries inflicted by the weather, natural catastrophes, disasters, tornadoes, volcano, scorching heat, freezing cold, and then we suffer. So an intelligent person, he will reason like this: let me stop this suffering by refraining from sense gratification. That is intelligent person. Foolish person will think, oh, who cares? Let me enjoy now. Then when there's suffering, I will manage somehow or other. I will do that. That is a foolish person's logic. So Diti was very much sexually agitated. And although Kashyapa was a great sage, he was a great Brahmana sage, elevated, very elevated personality, he could not restrain himself. Not exactly restrain, but he was obligated. He was obliged to his wife. See, the wife was completely under the influence of lust. And she forced him to have sex, even it was not the right time. There are certain rules and regulations for sex life. The first rule is that sex life should be only used for begetting children. That is natural sex life. If we stop, just like they have contraceptives. Contra means against. If we artificially try to enter into this process, by using contraceptives, then we create an unnatural, artificial way of life. This indulgence in sex life degrades the living entity. As I said before, we become more attached to the body, and then we're thinking of the body, and then we take another material body. It is not a big science. It's not some kind of a belief or faith or a big science. It just makes common sense. So, sex life should be restricted only for the purpose of begetting Krishna conscious children, not any children also. Krishna conscious children. So that is done when sex life is performed in an auspicious time according to the rules and regulations. Our devotees, they chant 50 rounds, 64 rounds, something like that, before conception. They chant, they purify the atmosphere. So some nice soul enters the environment. Also the baby is not that the baby is created by sex. This is the philosophy of demons. The baby is there already as a soul. Some great yogi, he could not finish his Krishna consciousness, and he leaves his body, and then he takes birth in a devotee family. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, that even without searching, he becomes attracted by the yoga principles. See, we're carrying inclinations and talents from our previous lives. There is this famous composer, Mozart. So Mozart, he was composing symphonies when he was 7 years old. How was it possible? How can a 7-year-old child learn how to compose symphonies? Such a complex thinking he must have had. So the answer is that he cultivated it in his previous life. There's material skill. Srila Prabhupada also said that Ravi Shankar, the sitar player, is a famous sitar player, perhaps the most famous. The Prabhupada says that it took him, 7 lifetimes, 9 lifetimes, something like that, to perfect his skill. So even in material sense, there's a continuation. Now what to speak of Krishna consciousness? Krishna consciousness, whatever you do in Krishna consciousness, that is transcendental. So it cannot be erased by any material circumstance. Whatever you do for Krishna, that is counted as your permanent asset, permanent credit, that will never be erased from your spiritual bank account. So we carry Krishna consciousness, and if the parents, they have sex life in a nice way, performing Garbhodana Samskara, chanting 50 rounds and preparing the environment for the baby, then such an elevated devotee, he will take birth. And one pure devotee, he can save 30 generations back and forth. 30 generations in the past and 30 generations in the future. This is confirmed in the 7th canto in connection with the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj. See here, Diti and Kashyapa, they are going to give birth to these 2 great demons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. But Hiranyakashipu will have a son who would be a pure devotee? Prahlad Maharaj. So it is not stereotype. A pure devotee can also appear in a demonic family. Just like all the Western devotees, they've taken birth in families where there are sinful activities going on. So that is also possible. That happens when the person, he commits some offense. He's executing his Krishna consciousness, but he makes some offense, usually to a devotee. So then he's degraded. Yamaraj was in a situation like this. He punished one Rishi, one Muni, unjustly. And then Muni, he cursed him that you take birth as a Shudra because you have no discrimination. Shudra means a worker, the fourth class man. This Muni, when he was a child, he pierced some insect with tiny little needle. So the laws of material energy are so stringent that even he was a child, the karma was there. But the Muni cursed Yamaraj that you should have taken some consideration. Child is foolish. Child doesn't understand. There must be some kind of a reduction of the punishment. And then Yamaraj, he took birth as Vidura. Vidura and Maitreya, they're having these talks. This pastime about Kashyapa and Diti is narrated by Maitreya Rishi, and Vidura is hearing. So everything is interrelated. As Diti is described as a shameless public prostitute. Maitreya Rishi is not holding back. Shameless public prostitutes. Shameless public prostitutes have no restriction in sex life. Actually, their whole life is about sex life. How to have sex life and how to get money. So if a woman is not practicing Krishna consciousness, she's not becoming purified from lusty desires, then she's not better than a prostitute, unfortunately. And then she becomes a personification of Maya, and she degrades the man and degrades the whole society. So women, they should be protected, not only physically protected and through money, but also spiritually protected. They're not so inclined to spiritual life. Srila Prabhupada says that most of our girls, they come to our movement to find a husband. And when they find a husband, now we see what is going on. No one is in the Bhagavatam class. So they should be elevated. This is the duty of the husband. If the husband cannot preach properly, he's not able to preach, then at least he should preach to his wife and family and children. Like that. Then he can elevate them, and by preaching to them, he is also reminded of his duty. The duty of human form of life is not to establish big family and have many children and see how they're getting married. And no, the aim of human life is to remember Krishna at the time of death. So Krishna conscious devotees, they engage in sex life with great restraint. They know, oh, this is dangerous. We should be very careful. Very careful. And they beget a child, And then they raise him in Krishna consciousness. Again, Krishna consciousness is always there. They don't become subjected. Even in his sex life, Prabodhananda Saraswati gives this analogy that the senses of a devotee, they're just like a snake without fangs. The snake is dangerous because of his fangs. He has the poison in the fangs. But if you take away his fangs, then he's harmless, like a water snake. Water snake is harmless, cannot bite. So this is the analogy given by Prabodhananda Saraswati, that for a devotee, the senses do not represent any threat. Because the senses are engaged in Krishna's service. This was the difference between Kashyapa Muni and, let's say, Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was tempted twice, maybe more times, but in the Chaitanya Charitamrita 2 occasions were described. First of all, this prostitute that was sent by one rascal who wanted to spoil the reputation of Haridas Thakur. He became envious. Just see, people become so envious. So instead of the prostitute alluring him, he elevated the prostitute. The prostitute became a devotee. She came to him at the dead of night. Oh, Haridas Thakur, you're so beautiful. I want to enjoy with you. But Haridas Thakur, he was very tricky. He said yes. He didn't say no. He said yes. Yes, I will fulfill your desire. But I must finish my prescribed number of rounds. Here Prabhupada says, 300,000 times daily he was chanting. So when the prostitute was waiting, she was hearing the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna. And it was a pure name. Because Haridas Thakur was a pure devotee. So that has extra potency, hearing from a pure devotee. And by hearing, oh, she became tired. Then she left. Okay, I'll come next day. Then again she came. The whole thing repeated itself again. Again she fell asleep. She could not. On a third day, again she was hearing and she was even chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And by chanting, she became purified. And the symptom of that purification was that she admitted, yes, this zamindar, this landlord, he hired me to fall you down. Please forgive me. I don't want to go back. I want to purify my life. So then Haridas Thakur, he engaged her. He said, go and give all your property, because prostitutes, all her property is earned by sex. So it is sinful property. We don't understand how subtly the law of karma works. If you buy something for sinful money that you have earned in an illegal way, so that object you buy is also sinful. So he told her, go and distribute everything in charity. Give it to the Brahmanas, Vaishnavas. And then come back. Although she was a woman, Haridas Thakur said, you must now practice austerity. And I think she shaved her head even. Yeah, when a woman shaves her head, oh, she looks so ugly. Huh? Very ugly. So that is the greatest tapasya for a woman, to be ugly. But she was so impressed by Haridas Thakur, she agreed to do that. I'm not sure if Haridas Thakur told her to do this, but somehow or other she shaved her head. And she continued her chanting there. And then Haridas Thakur, he left. Because what is he going to do there with a woman? He did his job and then he left. And she became a pure devotee. Then on another occasion, Maya personified, stronger Maya came, Maya herself. And she started exhibiting attractive postures. Just like when they have this fitness and this tight dress, girls, they have tight dress and fitness and they stretching. I see this on Facebook all the time. I don't know how I ended up there on my feed. I see sometimes this fitness. So this is a trick how to allure men so they can contemplate the shape of the woman's body. It becomes very attractive, when the woman is exhibiting the body. So she was doing like that to Haridas Thakur, and she was Maya personified. You cannot imagine how attractive it must have been. But it was not attractive for Haridas Thakur, because he was attracted by the Harinam, by the pure Shuddhanam, pure holy name. So again, she failed. And Haridas Thakur, he initiated her in the chanting of Hare Krishna, just like with the previous one. He also did that with Maya Devi. So you should not condemn Maya. Sometimes devotees, they say, I hate Maya so much. Don't hate Maya, because she's a great disciple of Haridas Thakur. That is her thankless task. Only rascals become victim to Maya. So if you're complaining, oh Maya, she's so stupid, that means you're a rascal, because you fell into her trap. That means you wanted something nonsense, and Maya, she gave you, and then she kicked on your face. So Haridas Thakur wasn't at all affected. But because Kashyapa Muni was a Shivite, most likely impersonalist, he became victimized. That is the difference. There are so many examples how devotees pass all the tests. And those who are not devotees, they fail. They fall into Maya very easily. So in any circumstances, be a devotee. Don't go to the demigods. Don't go to Lord Shiva. Nowadays it is a great fashion to go to Lord Shiva and worship Shiva. Don't do that. Don't be attracted. That is not pure bhakti. Pure bhakti means ananya, without deviation. And then even the Maya personified will not be able to tackle you. This is the power of pure Shuddha bhakti. So we can learn from this example how powerful sex life is. We should never underestimate. We should never think of ourselves very advanced. Brahmacharis. Always be humble. Always think this is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, that somehow or other I'm not getting victimized. Otherwise it's very easy to be victimized by this sex pleasure. And those who are grihastas, they should be extra careful and always pray to Krishna to save them from fall down. Okay, so any questions?
Gabriela is thanking you for a very, very inspiring class.
Thank you, Gabriela.
TikTok questions. David Willard is wondering, you can only hate Maya when in Maya?
Yeah. Next.
Ray is saying, I'm sorry, I disagree about Lord Shiva, Krishna and Shiva are the same but different form. And then Free Palestine is wondering, is Shiva a Vaishnava?
Yes. Vaishnavanam yata shambhu. We follow the Shastra. You can disagree as much as you want, but the Shastra is very clear on this point. Lord Shiva says in Padma Purana that out of all kinds of worship, the worship of Vishnu is the highest. And even higher than worship of Vishnu is the worship of Vaishnava. So we don't speculate. How can you speculate on these topics? You're using your material limited minds to make conclusions. You have to follow what the Shastra says. Don't speculate. You will not be happy if you're speculating.
Kurbea is wondering, is Maya considered a goddess or a demon?
Goddess.
There are questions from Krishna Prema. When Yamaraj had to take birth as an insect, who was doing Yamaraj?
What? No,
She
no,
misunderstood.
you don't understand. Not insect. No, the Muni was killing insect when he was a child. So then Yamaraj punished him. And then Muni, he counter-cursed Yamaraj to take birth as Vidura. You should read the Bhagavatam carefully.
Now she's wondering, how do you know in Krishna consciousness that your lusty desires are being purified?
You are attracted to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. You want to hear every day. You're attracted to the pastimes of Krishna. You cannot live without hearing. All the other activities, they become boring. That's the sign. And if you are attracted to material activities and you're giving up hearing and chanting and preaching and everything and your service, that means your lusty desires are growing.
This person on TikTok is wondering about Shiva and Vishnu because supposedly in the Gita press, according to the translation in the Gita press, they are the same, and supposedly also in the Shiva Purana.
They are not the same. In Bhagavad Gita, even it is said, even great demigods, they do not know me. Great demigods, Brahma, Shiva, they don't know me, Krishna says. And Krishna says, those who worship demigods, they're less intelligent. So, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Alexandra wants to do a guest call, but actually we don't do that, and unfortunately on TikTok, because it really destroys the quality of the stream. Sorry, Alexandra.
You can write. If you have a question, you write.
Okay, then Krishna Prema is wondering, okay, so when Yamaraj took birth as Vidura, who was doing his job as
Aryama.
Yamaraj?
Aryama. It's in the Bhagavatam, in the first canto. All these information you can find, you should read.
Bhubakchar M is wondering, is Krishna God?
Yes.
Sempo is wondering, can I start chanting without being initiated?
Yes. That's how you get initiated. Otherwise, how you want to get initiated if you don't chant? Initiation is not so cheap thing. Yes, please chant Hare Krishna.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, a pure devotee has no lusty desires, and only pure devotees can go back home. But then also, if the husband becomes a pure devotee, then the wife can go back home. So, if the husband is a pure devotee, does that mean the wife also becomes a pure devotee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you writing a question, Alexandra?
Okay, thank you so much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Nitai Gora Premanandi.
Hare Hare Bol.
Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Vistaya Bhutri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Guruvani Gurachari Nadi Vishesha Shunamari Pachari Ishtari